Alright guys, Dokkan time, and today's how to build is going to be for the physical Goku Black. Now this guy's getting a super EZA on global. He's already been out over on JP for quite some time now, probably a couple weeks, and I figured now would be finally a good time to go ahead and throw out a how to build video for him, suggestions. Now as you can see on the right side, my suggestion for his build is going to be primarily for dodge, and then put the rest into additional. There's a couple of reasons for that. Primarily, one of them is that the fact that this is a support unit. That's what this Fizz Goku Black is. He can do damage. He can tank decently, but he cannot tank to the degree that people probably would want him to do. I would say this is probably, I would say the number 3 best Super EZA. He's not quite as good as people wanted him to be, though I still think he's very good. I just feel like he is a little bit limited. So we're going to go over his kit, and then we're going to go over some of the reasons for his slot positionings, his partners and leaders. Just realize that my role tips on the side there, that is his ideal role. That is his ideal slot position, his ideal leader, his ideal partner. It doesn't mean you can only run him on those teams. No, you can run him on whatever he can run on him. This is a support unit, therefore he's meant to support. The role tips are there specifically if you want to see him shine. So let's just kind of go over to look at what he does. So Fizz Goku Black, after he super extreme Z awakens, he's a Fizz type, Ki +3, attack and defense, HP 120. Now, if you didn't know, let me tell you now, super extreme EZAs do not get their super attacks changed. Those stay the way that they are. They do not change, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, Goku Black here will not be getting any attack or defense on super, aside from what might be in his passive. In his passive, he has attack and defense plus 50% per key sphere obtained, defense plus 150% when attacking when collecting 3 or more key spheres, Ki +1 attack and defense plus 30% with each attack received, up to Ki +5 and attack and defense of 150%. He also randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow key spheres, plus an additional attack and defense plus 10% per key sphere obtained when there is a Goku family category enemy, or when all allies attacking in the same turn are on the Super Boss category. He does also get a chance to perform a crit plus 20% every time the character receives 3 hits in battle. Now, this is, like, before I move on, this right here, this whole thing with 3 hits, 20%, this stacks. This stacks. So, if he gets hit 9 times, then he will have a total crit chance of 60%. There's no reason to put crit into his build. There's a reason I didn't put crit as part of his build, even though he's a nuker. And that is the other thing, is like, if you want to like have the opportunity to use this Fizz Goku Black as a nuker, then I would highly suggest giving him crit. But that is entirely up to you if you so wish. I feel it goes against the curve of the meta of the game. I do not feel that you need to give him crit, because in an actual normal gameplay instance, you're going to be getting hit, you're going to get stacked up on that crit, and then you'll eventually do ideal amounts of damage. Or you'll save like an item to orb change so you can nuke with him. But if you want to use this guy for like a punching bag event or something like that, then I would suggest giving him crit, but that's entirely up to you. I just feel, as far as like a meta team goes, like you actually doing decent in all forms of content, I would just highly suggest against the crit. So, randomly changes key spheres of a certain type other than Fizz to physical key spheres when there is a super class enemy. And then he also gets extreme class allies, Ki +3, defense plus 30%. So this is why he's a support type. He's changing key spheres, he's supporting his allies, Ki +3, defense plus 30%. And that's pretty much it. But I mean, the main focus of why people like this guy was that they finally got a good partner for the Fizz Rose. The Fizz Rose requires rainbow key spheres, which this Goku Black supplies. So it actually is a huge buff to the physical rows. It makes him an ideal partner back and forth. The only time that this unit is an issue, I feel, is in two scenarios. One, if he's not stacked up on his defense, like he's not fully built up in a fight, and when you're fighting a super enemy. So here's the thing. If you're rocking Fizz Rose, you want Rainbow Key Spheres. If you're fighting a super enemy and every single time that this Seiza, the Super EZA Fizz Goku Black pops up on the field, he's changing those Rainbow Key Spheres into physical Key Spheres. So he's actually kind of being counterintuitive to that at that point. It's at that point you need to pick and choose. You have to know the enemy, decide if you're going to be throwing him into slot 1, because there will be lots of times when you're fighting a super type enemy where you'll just load the entire field down with just pure physical orbs, and you're just going to have to think to yourself, do I want to put the Super EZA Goku Black in slot 1? Yes and no, because, well, let's go take a look at his defense. Compliments of Halvard over here. As you can see, his maximum defense would be around 1.4 mil, fully built up with 6 Key Spheres on a full Super Boss's team. So, with that in mind, I mean, yes, that's a full build-up, which means he's been attacked, I believe, how many times? I think he needs to be hit 5 times in total in order to have fully built up, which is quite a bit, because he has very low defense for a while. So the thing is, he does get defense on his super. The problem, not on the super, but on per orb. The problem is that even if you get to this right here, he doesn't have damage reduction, and he doesn't have guard. Now, obviously, if you got the domain up, you got fully built up, you got 40% support, you grab the entire field of orbs, then, if you grab a whole field of orbs, yeah, sure, go throw them into slot 1. That's perfectly fine. But I would have to say, probably, I want to say unless you get like 15 orbs, I would not suggest putting him into slot 1. Unless you got this guy fully decked out with how Halvard described right here, he is not to be thrown into slot 1. He does not have damage reduction. He does not have guard. So he will get kind of destroyed by a good number of bosses. When your maximum defense is only about 1.3 on average, 1.5 on average, that's just not cutting it when you have bosses doing freaking 5, let's see here, 2.3, 2.5, 3 million supers. You only have about roughly 600 to 700k HP. So if, let's say, you were fighting the boss rush Broly will destroy you. I mean, you would have to literally collect the entire field of key orbs in order to survive, because he does 3 million super attacks. If you go against an STR boss, which there's a couple, Gogeta to be named as one of them. That's his worst case scenario. It could be kind of bad. But the thing is, he's orb reliant. That is the thing. This is just a prime example of an orb reliant unit. This is what you should be expecting to see on average. This is what, as long as you're collecting 6 key spheres, he's rainbow. You have a domain up. I would probably estimate being around 1.3 million defense, roughly. It's going to be very sporadic, all over the place, highly dependent on how many key spheres you give this guy. I can't express that enough. So your mileage will heavily vary. Like I said, though, if you're fighting a super boss, there could be times where you're doing this. You collect a whole field of key spheres, and he's just absurdly good. This guy can do crazy good damage. He can tank very well, dependent on your orbs. I cannot express that enough. This is a good unit. He is a good unit. But I have to say that being orb reliant does bring around quite the sense of you have to orb manage properly, and you have to be very aware of the damage you're taking. He's a very technical unit, I feel, at that point, and he's still 100% at the end of the day is a support type unit. He's 100% a support type unit. Yes, you can do damage. Yes, you can technically tank with him, but that is not his primary role. His primary role is to change orbs and to support allies, and that's what his primary role is as a unit. So I like the unit. I think he's good. I think he's fun. My hidden potential is this right here. This is my personal hidden potential. It's what I was able to change him to. A lot of people probably have crit already built into him. I originally had this Goku Black set up for crit and additional. And at this point in the game's life cycle, and now with his Super EZA out, we can 100% agree that he is needing dodge because he does not have damage reduction or guard or nothing. And with the high amount of damage he can do, depending on your orbs, I feel additional is the best way to go about him with that. Not to mention he's a physical type, so already starts with 5. Like I said, the only reason I don't feel like he needs crit is just because he already has built-in crit, and he could, at one point, he can potentially have a 100% chance to crit. It just depends on how many times he gets hit. So, but anyways, eventually I will try to take away these these 2 crit nodes and put them into either dodge or additional. But yeah. Anyways, guys, let me know how you're going to build your physical Super EZA Goku Black, if you even can. I kind of really wish they would give us some free node changes when they Super EZA, or even just EZA a unit. It would just help out immensely. But anyways, guys, let me know if this helped you out, and I hope you have a good day and good night. And this Super EZA releases on the 18th at 10:30 or 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day and a good night.